People say a lot about our democracy.
It's not over. We're going to expect more.
Some say what they know.
Is it that we deceive ourselves or not willing to discuss our differences?
Others say what they think is right.
The political will to effect that law is what we are lacking.
It takes 3 persons to eat 15 naira bread. I disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Immediately the president won election, he went to Britain. He has not gone to River State. He has not gone to Benue. He has not gone to this country.
Join Kingsley Welenda Wali every Saturday on this station from 11 a.m. to 12.
My name is Kingsley Welenda Wali.
And the program is Democracy in Action on Today 95.1 FM. But Harcourt.
I believe in you. Do you believe in me?
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Democracy in Action. My name is Kingsley Welenda Wali. I'm sure we've had a wonderful week, and we're here to tone down a bit while discussing our democracy. With me this morning to discuss issues miscellaneous, especially our values, political values or economic values, it's Ross Alamo George. Mr. Ross, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
I think we'll just go straight on. Like they say, hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things have happening in the political sphere in the last couple of days. 2 earthquaking issues, basically, are the rise and rise. Is it rise and rise or fall and fall of the Naira?
It's the fall.
The
and fall. A crash.
But it's rising in numbers.
Quick.
It's rising in numbers.
But it's dropping in value. You know, it's just like you're getting over bloated when you're dead. You know, so the Naira is just getting bloated. You know, emptily bloated.
On the other side is the ascendancy of Senator Sheriff as chairman of the PDP. Somebody that even the ex-president referred to as a friend of Boko Haram. And some people even say he's the progenitor of Boko Haram. These are the 2 major issues in the last week. So the point really is, which should we really be discussing at this time of our national development, because it looks like one dovetails into the other. The quality of leadership that our politics and our politicians provide. Is it the type of politics that's inspiring enough? Yes, you know that most times people look at the characters that represent the politics to know what kind of attachment they will give to that polity. Our Naira is rising or falling,
crashing,
rising in numbers, falling in numbers, and the politics is not inspiring enough. What's your take?
You know, I would want to quote the former governor of River State, current Minister of Transport, Right Honorable Rotimi Amaechi, who once said that there is no morality in politics. That is very debatable.
Okay.
But you see, across the globe.
Before you go there, let me just say something here. Let me just read what Femi Fani-Kayode said.
All right.
What Ali Modu Sheriff stands for and represents is utterly repugnant to every fiber of my being. Yet I have no objection to his being a member of the PDP simply because politics is a game of numbers. It is a game in which everyone, no matter how big or small, counts. If you want your party to grow and move progress, you must accept the good, the bad, and the ugly. I had to read this because of what you were saying.
You know, candidly, I think every shade of opinion is valid, and depending on how much you've evolved in your politics and in our politics, your position on these issues and on these matters will be different. I want to look at this as a game of politics.
Okay.
Ali Modu Sheriff was a member, a founding member, very active member, and key sponsor of the APC before he eventually got back into the PDP. Now, just like I've said, if we agree that politics in politics there is no morality. Okay, it then means that we should also understand that when these politicians play their game, the sole aim of the game is to win. And we've seen that play out in the APC, and the PDP seems to have adopted the strategy of the APC.
And all comers are fair, you mean?
Not exactly. It's for
Because,
them.
Yeah. Okay, because the PDP is adopting the APC model. I'm just saying, not I'm accepting what you're saying as gospel, but the logic of what you're saying is that APC did that. So there's some logic in PDP going that route.
Exactly. The APC came together, they formed the party, brought in everybody who they thought could make them win. The PDP has looked at it. You know, for me, my personal opinion, and I've made an article on this, I said, look, on grounds of morality, that appointment fails the morality test. But on the grounds of strategy, I think it passes the strategy test. And I'm going to have enough time to break that down. But when you talk about Boko Haram, what is the difference between Boko Haram and recalcitrant military officers? What is the difference between Boko Haram and military officers who've been killing? So if we need to first of all prove and show that Ali Modu Sharif is in fact a sponsor of Boko Haram. I don't know. You mentioned the former president having said that, of course, in the period of politicking, mudslinging is all the way. And Ali Modu Sharif campaigned for President Jonathan at some point. So I don't want to get into the issues if Ali Modu Sharif, as far as I'm concerned, Ali Ndume has also been accused of being a member of Boko Haram. As far as I know, a minister in the President Buhari cabinet is the lead counsel to a whole lot of Boko Haram suspects. So if we look at it from that perspective, we just want to look at our politics as a, like they say, dirty game, and the objective and all they want. And if you look at what the PDP is pushing, the PDP is just pushing for one thing: 2019. And I agree with those who have said that, come on, shouldn't the PDP be building up? Shouldn't they be reinforcing their base, mobilizing and energizing the grassroots? Why is it that the PDP is just after 2019? And the strategy is 2019, this government is doing really badly. Nigerians may most likely reject this government. Let's look at somebody who can activate and drop some ripples in the northeast, give us some flavor in the north, who has the resources and the war chest on his own without pressuring the few governors with the system, and I think that is how I'm sure that is the politics around Ali Modu Sharif.
So you're saying, in essence, what you're saying in summary is that Senator Ali Modu Sharif, SAS, is the face of the Nigerian politics and the politicians. He represents everything Nigerian politics represents, as it were. If you ask me, by me, it looks more like just get power.
I've said it on this program before, that in the Nigerian politics there is nothing like ideology. Maybe that is my own interpretation of Governor Meche saying that there's no morality in politics. The principal ideology of the typical Nigerian politician is survival. How do I survive the next election? And how do I survive? And that's why I keep saying that corruption on itself, in its own, is actually a trait of all people and all leaders trying to survive. Because it's difficult to understand what these politicians go through until you get really close to them. A politician is not just thinking about his upkeep. When he gets corrupt, he's thinking of how to take care of his constituency. He's thinking of the pressure that he gets from his constituency.
He's not taking care of his constituency or consolidating his hold on his constituency.
To consolidate your hold is to survive. So if you cannot consolidate your hold, I was listening to some senators talking about how many calls they get, bank
a lot for bank statement, bank numbers,
account numbers every day, and it's the truth. And the moment you are able to do that, because a lot of the people are poor, and when the man is poor, a man is not thinking ideology. The Bible says that the wisdom of a poor man is despised. So the poor man does not think ideology. The poor man, because his wisdom is despised anyway, so the poor man thinks survivor. So when it comes for time for election, the poor man does not ask you, what are you bringing to the table? He's looking for the stomach infrastructure for the now. And so you see our political feudal class will always capitalize on that and show something at the people survive, and then reinforce their strongholds on the system. So does Ali Modu Sheriff represent that? I think yes. Ali Modu Sheriff right now simply represents the PDP trying to win and trying to survive. That's what the PDP is actually trying to do. For a whole lot of people like Femi Fani-Kayode, I understand Femi's push, because Femi has been very critical about the sponsorship of Boko Haram, and he's been a very aggressive critic on that. And his attacks
has very strong opinions on Boko Haram, and the alleged sponsors. And for him to come now to be seen to be a member of a political party that the chairman represents everything that is Boko Haram.
But do we have any pointer to that? In the season of politics, I keep saying that in the season of politics, a whole lot of stuffs go around, and that's why I agree with Ben Mure Bruce when he says that a whole lot of countries, they open a small window for campaigns, so that in that campaign you can do your ad hominem, you can assassinate characters as much as you can.
All you want to do,
all you
just
want,
for that small window,
or just within that window,
not for the whole 4 years or 10 or 5 or whatever.
Unfortunately, in the last election, it was really bad. Okay, and you know that even most people in the PDP accused the APC of being behind Boko Haram, but today the APC is in government. And why didn't the APC? Ali Modu Sheriff was their founder. The whole lot of the criticism is coming from the APC. Why double standard? Why didn't you talk about?
Well, I think you're wrong on that, because if you talk about people who have criticized the appointment of Modu Sheriff as the chairman of the PDP, it's come more from the inside. A whole bunch of senators have said they're not going to take that. Some state party chairmen said they won't be part of that. Even the board of trustees of the PDP is rejected it. So it's nothing coming from the outside. Yes, the outside, the APC will have catching on a bit of it, being a bit cynical. But the point still remains that the bulk of people who are saying no are from the inside, which takes me back to the earlier point you made, the lack of ideology. The fact that people just want to access power for the sake of power and nothing else. When will the Nigerian people, when will the Nigerian issue become the driving force for party politics and politicking?
That driving
because
force.
You said something about instead of the PDP to sit back, energize the power base, energize the grassroots, they're looking for a quick fix. Just like you said the APC did.
Exactly.
So when is going to be about us?
I was reading some materials yesterday, and I was trying to
reading. You're still keep reading. You know what Agrippa said to Paul?
Too much learning make you mad.
I'm worried for you.
Now there is a nexus between colonialism and dispossession in the capitalism. Now we had imperial masters, and today what we have indigenous imperial masters. So we are in a state of colonialism, but we've been colonized by our own people,
by indigens.
Now what does that mean? It means that the political class have now formed themselves have now captured colonies via political platforms, and the colonial master does not care about the people in the colony. The colonial masters what they care about is what they can get from the colony. Now, to get that, they may need to appease the people.
The colonia, you mean?
The colonia. What they can get from the colonia. Now, to get that, you need to appease the people. It's just like when Shell comes to operate in OML 204, for instance. Shell really does not, per se, care about your language and you and
the host community. They just do manage to fix something that takes them to
exactly. Shell is there to drill the oil, but to drill the oil effectively, Shell has to make sure that corporate social responsibility
in quotes
is taken care of. So they need to make sure that their work environment is peaceful. Now, all the typical political elite class in Nigeria tries to do is to make sure that the constituency is peaceful. People you give them the major stuff.
Now that's instead of CSRO, you have PSR,
political social
responsibility.
And the truth of the matter is this: our people do not demand for stewardship, and I don't blame them, because, like I keep saying, when majority of your people are not as educated as you want, and not doing well in terms of the poverty level is so high, the question of what do we have as what is your agenda? What is your long-term agenda? It's not there. We know that even in Bayelsa State, people were requesting for money to vote President Jonathan. And we know that in the coming elections, people will request for money to vote for candidates. And tell me, when these guys go out of their way to raise money and settle people, it takes away from their commitments, to push for development in those regions. And so stewardship is a very important thing. How many constituencies can sit up and call back their representatives? How many people go back to their and say, look, these are the issues in our region. These are the things that we want you to do when you get into the House of Assembly, onto the House of Rep, or the National Assembly. Our communities are so weak on that. And when there is no stewardship, when people don't demand for stewardship, it makes it so easy for the politicians,
or for the rulership to continue to walk the path. But again, let's look at the problem of you keep on hammering on poverty, hunger, and all of those, and that's what's responsible for our people not demanding for stewardship, because in elections all they do is when it gets to election, just ask for money, they can carry their wall and go, and all of those. But this is not the poorest country in the world. We have seen nations where hunger has driven people to anger, and in anger they have resisted of the fought back oppression and bad governance. Why is our own different?
The role of I keep talking about stewardship and the weakness of our democratic structure. The democratic structure is weak when the people are weak, because democracy is a government of the people. It's a government for the people and by the people. So when the people cannot and still don't identify the powers that they have, the leadership will be weak, because the leadership does not owe, or the leadership feel that they do not owe the people so much. Now look at this. When you have a system where you run for an election and the internal system of the parties are already weak, how do people win elections? The party. How does the party produce their nominees? How involved are the people? We need to ask ourselves a question. What percentage of Nigerians are members of political parties? Maybe less than 5%. But on election day, they come out, they vote for who they want to vote for. But the participation level is still very high, very low, because the people have not been drawn to it yet. So it's in terms of poverty, I have always made the point that it is impossible for leadership. You mentioned countries where revolutions have taken place.
Well, I don't know. I didn't say revolutions. I said where people became hungry, and out of hunger they became angry, and they resisted the system.
No, resistance and revolting, it is the same thing. When you resist, you're actually revolting, because when you resist, you take action. Okay?
Why are we not taking action?
That's what we're saying. Because of the structure of our social system. For instance, if you are arrested today, all right, it is easy to mobilize your people.
Why don't you say if I'm arrested
for corruption?
No, why don't you say if I Ross Alaba
I want to put it that way. It is very easy to manipulate. Okay, it is very easy to manipulate the emotions of the people, and that's why when somebody is corrupt and the person has
to do with education or what? Why are we so susceptible to tribal and base sentiments?
I think it's because we are still not yet a nation. Nigeria is a country of many nations. And I think that what the founding fathers tried to do is the same thing we're still struggling with today. They were trying to survive. And in the process of survival, our founding fathers did not look at, and even the colonial masters did not look at the sustainability of the structure that they were living. So what do we have? We have a situation where nations within the nation of Nigeria try to protect their own. So,
how far are we willing to go with that?
And that's why you see, I keep saying that the anti-corruption war cannot succeed. I'm sorry to say that. I am not optimistic that it will succeed, because the day you pick up somebody for some reason, it can be easily interpreted as witch hunting.
Yeah, for example, Yekaweno was removed as chairman of some board and said because she's Igbo.
What is she doing? She's appealing to the emotions of her people. And it works. Because at every point in time, the national cake is not enough. So somebody gets a bigger share. And so the call for true federalism.
What's not enough? The national cake is not enough, or our greed is not enough. Which of them?
The national cake, the truth is that Nigeria is still a poor country. We have this illusion, according to Professor Soludo. We have an illusion of wealth. Nigerians think that the country is very wealthy, and so they steal a lot from it, not knowing that
the problem is that it's our greed that's actually driving the problem.
It's our greed. How much does Nigeria make from oil yearly? We make about $50 billion. $50 billion is what the University of California budgets in a year. $50 billion for a whole 200 million people, and we think we're so really, really wealthy. How much does
who said we're 200 million people?
Well, that's what statistics says.
What
if you're
is that not part of the corruption?
If you're projecting from 2006 population, now we don't even know how much. Which
2006 population?
How many we are?
Which census?
2006.
Which one? Which of them?
National census.
That was approved.
I was supposed to have another census 10 years later.
That was approved or not?
It was approved. It was approved under President Obasanjo. That gave Kano State, made Kano State the most populated state in Nigeria, taken over from Lagos. Now the question is this: in 2016, we're supposed to have another population. Do we even have the resources for a census? Okay. Now you look at that, and for the first time, Nigerians are beginning to understand that the country maybe is not so rich after all. Because you ask a state like Adamawa State, the money they make from the internally generated revenue is basically about what Obiakpo makes in their IGR. Adamawa State makes about 200 million, 300 million in a month in IGR. So without FAC allocation, Adamawa State is not viable. Okay, and 80% of, or even 90% of Nigerian states are not viable.
Bayelsa too.
Well, Bayelsa, you're correct. But you see, in terms of viability, Bayelsa has resources. Bayelsa has resources. Abia has resources. Okay, so if you push out everybody on
how do you mean Abia has resources and Adamawa does not? Adamawa is where we have the Mambila Plateau.
How much does the Mambila Plateau contribute to the national revenue?
How much does Abia contribute to the national revenue?
Abia has.
We're talking about resources, potential resources.
Abia has oil fields. Abia has oil fields. All right, so you look at it from that perspective and say, okay, if we become a truly federal state in Nigeria today, how many states can survive? That's the point I'm trying to make. So if you become truly federal states, Bayelsa will survive. They've got oil and gas. River State will survive. Lagos State will survive.
Adamawa will survive.
How?
Agriculture.
Adamawa will now start planning to survive, because they will now start looking inwards. And
it doesn't take forever to look inwards.
And I don't believe, I've talked to quite a number of folks about, how rich Nigeria is when it comes to solid minerals. There is this illusion also that Nigeria is very, very rich in solid minerals. We are not rich in solid minerals. If you look at the proven reserves that we have for iron, we have 600 million tons. Okay, proven reserves. Iron ore, 600 million tons. But South Africa exports 200 million tons of iron ore every year. So it means that if we export at the
South
rate,
Africa.
South Africa, yes. So it means that if we export at the rate of
You're in a
South
position
Africa,
to know, I know.
we would if we export at the rate of South Africa, our iron ore results only take us for 3 years. So where's the iron ore? What else? Bauxite? What? Gold? What do we have? So
And
Nigeria,
all of this put together, the political class is still playing all kinds of role with our politics.
the political class simply does not want to face reality. You know, now what is happening with we expect that, yes, we are fighting an anti-corruption war. What should the political class be doing? They should be engaging the president on the economy. You understand that the present economic team is not strong. Everybody knows that.
I don't know that. Don't say everybody knows that.
I think you do.
I don't, because I don't see how the problem we're in now has a direct relationship with the quality of appointees of the present administration. I personally don't.
Looking at it from a broader view, yes. But you see, leadership has a whole lot of role to play.
Yeah, what you call body language, right?
You know, in the direction of this country. President Buhari has shown, you know, good, a very stern commitment to anti-corruption. But how much can this anti-corruption fight go? It can only work within the civil service. And what is the percentage of the civil service to the Nigerian economy? The whole revenue of Nigeria is less than 10% of what the Nigerian economy is worth. So anti-corruption in government is good and fine, but you see, anti-corruption in the society, that is the direction that we should be thinking about. And you see, when there is poverty in the land, it's really, really difficult to fight to fight poverty. For countries that have resisted, if you look at those countries that have resisted, a whole lot of them were homogeneous nations. Georgia, Algeria, you know, Zambia, very likely also, you know. So, who do you want to resist? You want to resist President Buhari now? You think the Fulanis will stand with you? Or you wanted to resist President Jonathan? You think the Joe people will stand with you, or the Niger Delta will stand with you? Or when Yoruba man becomes president, and when the Yoruba man finally becomes president, you want to resist the Yoruba man? So when I say that we have so many nations in the nation, and the loyalty of the people are not to Nigeria, the loyalty of people are to their ethnic constituencies. So the loyalty of the Yoruba man, first of all, is the Yoruba nation. The loyalty of the Calabar man is to the Calabar nation.
Calabar is not a nation. What are you waiting for? Sooner than later, our president Ross Alamu George.
The loyalty of the Kwere man is to the Kwere nation. And he also complete that. So you now see that we are dragged between our our multi-ethnic structure. You know, also places a whole lot of weight, and that's why if you look around the world, nations that have multiple ethnic groups always find themselves in problems like this. But all hope is not lost, because Nigeria is just 40 years old. And we've not done completely bad. You know, we've not failed as a nation. I think what we need to do is to begin to engage our political class very consciously.
John Peters says, when it comes to thinking America, there's no Democrats, there's no Republicans. We see Obama sitting together with Bush to streamline things about America. In Nigeria, Jonathan presented a budget, APC called it names. Buhari presented a budget, PDP called it names. Which way Nigeria? John Peters.
I think I have an issue with that. In America, I think I was in the US then when the US budget was filibustered, you know, and when Senator Cruz was ridiculing President Obama's proposal. Up to now, we have a situation where President Obama is supposed to replace Justice Scalia, but the Republicans are saying no, you need to wait till next year. And President Obama is saying, come on, you know, you can have it.
The justice system should wait because of politics.
Because of politics. And President Obama is saying, come, we cannot have 8 justices of the Supreme Court. We need an odd number. It has to be 9 so that they can take, you know, decisions. So
doesn't that tell you much about the Nigerian mindset, in the sense that we just feel that oh, yeah, I mean, all the good things happen outside. Here, nothing good happens. There's no faith in the system. Is it because of this nation-states issue, or just that we as a people have not been able to appreciate the potentials that Nigeria represents?
That's where the issue of understanding and participation in the democratic process comes in. You know, if you want to participate in the democratic process, you have to know. Okay, we think that it's always bad and the worst case with Nigeria, but even with corruption, you see, as societies evolve, as they become more civilized. You know, I was reading John something, I've forgotten his name. He was talking about corruption. He was like, every society in the world is still corrupt. That America is still corrupt. There is still corruption massively in Europe. But you see, it moves from functional corruption to structural corruption.
I think structural corruption for me is simply the fact that somebody feels that I can do it and get away with it, nothing's going to happen. That's the difference.
The structural corruption is when the political system, when the laws allow.
That's what I'm saying. You can do it and get away with it.
Simple.
The very proverbial Nigerian, what's that word we use of impunity. Now,
impunity that is legitimate. You know, in the era of slave trade was legitimate. It was legitimate in Europe.
True.
But looking at it now, it's corruption. It was bad. It was savage. It was brutal.
Even then, it was bad to those who are at the receiving end.
At the receiving end. Yes. No, but think about it. Who sold the slaves in the 16th century, in the 17th century?
The corrupt people.
No?
You always have receivers.
Who sold the slaves? The slave masters who kidnapped and captured people from other tribes, brought into their kingdoms.
That's brigandage.
They sold them out. For them, it was cultural. For them, it was okay.
It wasn't cultural because they were killing people. They were literally kidnapping people and selling them off.
What about wars today? We have countries bombing countries. Isn't it legitimate?
But legitimate does not mean it's right. That's rule of force.
St. Paul says that not all things are right, but all things are expedient. Not all things are advantageous. Some things may be advantageous, but it doesn't mean that they're expedient. Okay, so look at it. Tomorrow, a generation will come up and say, wars. These were criminal activities. The same way we look at slave trade and say slave trade is really bad. The same way, I was trying to link colonialism, slave trade, and capitalism. The kind of capitalism we have today, where we're dispossessing the poor, you know, just to feed the 1%
in the political class.
1% of Nigerians. It's the same thing in America. 1% of Nigerians own 90% of the entire resources of this nation. Ask the bankers, they'll tell you. 90% of the wealth of this nation is in the hand of a 1%. Okay, so
but we can't continue like that. I think that is the basis for today's discussion, when we just looked at it, that all the politicians are doing is just acquire power. Then when it comes to doing things that come with acquisition of power, we don't seem to get it right. Is it that it's deliberate, or they don't even know what to do because they are more preoccupied with the whole idea of power? Nobody sat down and looked at the Nigerian project. Let that determine who gets into office, who gets what. Because we would have thought that in a country where less than 1 year ago the PDP was voted out of office, Nigerians rejected them. What one would have thought is that PDP will sit back and say, where did we get it wrong? Where did we get it wrong? Did we perform but not properly connected with the people? How do we do to reconnect with the people? Do we need to mobilize and energize our base? Rather, they rather go for the shortcuts, which will take us back to to square one. We need to get out of this. That is the bone of contention.
You know, you are very correct. I think that the PDP has a lot of housekeeping, you know, to do. The process by which the new chairman emerged, I think enough of the stakeholders were not consulted. But that said, we have more or less a two-party structure in the country. There are two major political parties, and we understand that the only reason why politicians even strive. The only reason why politicians strive to succeed is because they fear the kind of attack they will get during the next election. And that's why an American politician once said that our politicians don't think about the next generation, they think about the next election. Now, how do we plan? What is the national plan? You know, I salute the First Republic under, Ahmadu Bello and Tafawa Bello and all of that. They had a first national development plan, and sometimes I look at it, I'm like, wow, this is really nice. We've
never been short of plans.
I'm telling you,
even the second rolling plan under Murtala Obasanjo era.
But in the First Republic, they came out steaming. Look at the River Niger Bridge. It was built in 1966, £5 million. It was in the plan. That year it was built in 18 months.
Do we have a calculator that can do that for us right now?
£5 million. £5 million. Now the second River Niger Bridge is costing about.
I'm talking about £5 million.
100 billion. Almost
£5 million.
So
in the current mathematics of how much naira naira for £1.
Now you also need to backdate that. What was the value, of the value of a pound in 1966 is stronger. It was stronger back then, than it's now. Now,
I'm just saying that if we had to do £5 million today,
exchange rate is about 485. 485. From 280. So you can see that we're seeing a constant depreciation, and
that was an aside.
Okay, so back to what I was saying. I think that I've said this before. The country needs a plan. Okay, somebody loses an election, or somebody wins an election, he comes into office, he tries to reboot the system completely. I think that's one of the problems Nigeria is having. Now you're rebooting lack of continuity. We're rebooting the system because we did not agree, so to speak, on the pathway. This is not just a Nigerian problem. It happens in America. The Republicans are trying to, rewind the healthcare and all of that. Now, what's the way forward? The way forward is simple. We need to increase the participation of the people. People need to begin to ask questions. No senator has ever been recalled in the history of Nigerian democracy. No member of the House has ever been recalled in the history of Nigerian democracy. It simply shows that the people themselves do not really care. For instance,
is it they don't care or they don't count?
I think if you look at the Bayelsa election, the people are beginning to count. The people will only begin to count when their vote counts. When their vote counts, it means that their voices will be heard. Okay, but there are issues that becloud the reasoning of the masses. One of them is tribalism, ethnicity. So it does not matter if, we tend to look at where this guy is from rather than what he can do. And that's why we have continually seen that, the best, we've never had the best rule in Nigeria. We've never had the best as, in contests emerge, except in few cases where we've seen that people can actually perform. Coincidentally, we've seen that happen. But in terms of people going out, individuals consciously to say, look, we want this guy because we think that he's smarter, he has a record, his profile is sound. People don't do that. They do that. No,
he knows what this whole thing is all about.
It's all about. So in a system where we don't function with ideology, it is really, 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 really difficult. And so until the society becomes better, I keep saying that the political class will only be a reflection of what our society is. So it's not enough blaming the political class. We need to look inwards, look at our value system and see how that affects, the political system itself.
The program is Democracy in Action. My name is Kingsley Wanendawali. My guest this morning has been Mr. Ross Alabo George. He says that the premium we place on the kind of service that we get from our politicians to a large extent is determined by our own values. Trending right now, it's the appointment. I find that interesting too. That the political party chairman is appointed. is the appointment of Senator Modu Sharif as the PDP chairman. A lot of people have had issues with it, from within, from outside. We're saying, does he represent the Nigerian politics, the face of Nigerian politics and the Nigerian politician? And that's what I think our guest here is saying this morning. But it's not something that must be treated in isolation. That is a reflection of how we think, how we do things, and how we carry on with our politics. Because to a large extent, the Nigerian people are not really ready to ask and make demands of stewardship because of poverty, because of ethnic considerations, and all that. You can still be part of this discussion by calling on 0815-5951-951, 0815-5951-951, or 0817-0000-951, 0817-0000-951, 0810-9510-951, 0810-9510-951. Text messages to 0701-933-9962, 0701-933-9962. Mr. Ross, there has to be a way out. Something has to be kick-started. Hello, like what we call that. Hello. Okay, a bipartisan approach. Something has to happen.
You know, when you look at the bipartisan approach, you want to ask yourself, because
like John Peters said, there must be a point where we would think less of APC and PDP and think Nigeria.
True, you know, but you see the way our democracy is structured. Our democracy is structured in such a way that it runs through vehicles, and the vehicles are the political parties. So, in order to be part of that structure, you need to be either part of the political party, so that you can speed up change through the political system, or just like you said, citizens mass action. Mass action usually is more or less like a last resort, and I hardly see mass action coming in Nigeria, because look at even in 1993 when an election was annulled, we only saw mass action in a section of Nigeria. The other part of Nigeria was okay with it. So it's going to be really, really difficult for us to get to that point. So the option we have now is to see how we can build our political system and then build our institutions. Okay. This is actually quite difficult. It takes time. But, you know, and I was talking about, you know, the political systems itself.
What we call that? Hello?
Yeah, we do.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, the guest in the studio.
Okay, good morning.
I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
Okay. Your contribution quickly, please.
Yes, the guest here is really picking the mind of many people. But see, what I want to try to say is that we're copying too much. We try to do second fiddle. We are trying to plan about our country, Nigeria. We are talking about how America did their own. We are trying to talk about how we do. This is how the British did their own. For once, we don't do in our own way. Hey, America did like this, Russia did something like this. British. Do let us do it in our own way. And like what we just said in this area, we come in here for our own pocket. If our political positions are made, it's not how we like it, attractive. The people here, when they come for this political position, they will come to serve us. But it feels too attractive. That's why there are feelings here. People want to make sure they feel to get to that position. Elections cannot take place without a tribunal or without a people. So for one, it can never be. Like they're talking about the in the River State here. How is it possible that after 140 days, everything will, okay, let's assist this government to fight corruption to make the place better? That the present situation are really responsive. You never give people advice or giving you suggestion how to master work. It's only just like the summer, the same thing. It doesn't hurt. If you lose, congratulations. And look at how to do it. Look at how I was doing it. You go forward for God's sake. Don't let me rest.
Oh, thank you very much. I think the LCM of what he just said is that when are we going to start indigenizing the process of change, of creating a new Nigeria, instead of always comparing notes, or rather not even comparing notes, always saying that, oh, this is the way it was done here. Those who had their own experiences, which probably formed the way and manner they did what they did.
That's true.
Sorry, let's take one more call. Hello? Hello? We lost him. The networks are crazy this morning. Put it off. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Ross.
Okay. I said something that Nigeria as a nation, after independence, we've had indigenous governments for about 56 years. 56 years. Now, we cannot always compare, ourselves with what has happened outside, for democracies that are heading to 300 years now. And where we are coming from a point where the society must evolve for governments to evolve, because the people in government, they don't come from space. They are people who are with us. Okay, for instance, the caller
who have formed the Nigerian mindset.
So they go into government with a particular mindset. So until we begin to, like him, he made a smart point where he said that we need to make government offices less attractive. Okay, I don't think government offices are still attractive. I don't think they're very attractive. If you look at the salary of a senator or the salary of a member of the House of Assembly, I don't think it's really attractive.
Hello?
But the issue is the leaks and the process.
Hello? Hello, good morning.
A member, a commissioner, for instance, or a member of the House of Assembly, I don't think that they earn that much. If you look at their basic salaries and all of that, I don't think they earn that much. But you see,
I heard Kachuku complaining the other day that what he gets paid as a minister is nothing compared to his salary when he was
to what he used to get. But you see, the systems.
Hello?
I think we have that problem with the network. The system is porous. That's the challenge. That's the problem we have.
So the public service or the platform, whatever, the public office provides you a platform.
It provides you
for
a platform
greater economic empowerment.
For larger appetites. So when you get into office,
large appetite or platform for satisfying your large appetite.
Well, that's corruption. All of it is still corruption.
Okay.
It's the public office as it is today offers corruption. It offers corruption because you need to be very God-fearing to get into office, and you're awarding contracts. That might be corrupt.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling from, please. I think we should just leave the phones for this week.
So the big challenge is that how do we plug institutional deficiencies? I'm aware in the last administration they did what they call the eyepiece.
It's instructive here to mention that one of the reasons why PDP gave, that's the subject for today.
Yeah.
All we're doing is try to look at other incidental matters. Now, the PDP, one of the reasons they gave for appointing Modi Sharif was that he's well off, he has money.
I don't think that they said he had money. I used that.
No, yeah, I saw one of the reasons. What's the gentleman's name? Femi Falikai. They said.
Okay, so that's not the PDP. That was Femi's personal opinion.
That's what Femi is up there in PDP. That's why I'm quoting him. He says that one of the reasons why they selected him or they appointed him was that he is rich and he won't depend on the party to run his office, which presupposes that PDP is trying to curb corruption.
Well,
now that's sounding interesting to you. I can see this smile.
That does not curb corruption in any way. The corruption we talk about is not the corruption within the political parties. It doesn't matter how the man got the money in the first place. Within the political parties, it is the corruption when you abuse government office. Okay, I think those who crafted the constitution and those who crafted the civil service structure and all of that, I think they did a good job. Salaries of senators and all of that, if you look at it, it's not really big. Okay, but it is those things that come with being in that office that when you become a senator, you become a stakeholder in the state, for instance. You become a stakeholder in the nation. You can go into a ministry. You can lobby for projects. You can lobby for jobs. You can push people into appointments and stuff like that. That is what makes some of this stuff really, really attractive, and it gets to empower, people who are in political office. Think about it. Some of them have made so much money, and why do governors, for instance, want to become senators? If it is really money that they're looking for, why do senators stay 5 times and they want to still want to remain there, and they want to come back, they want to be governors? Why would a speaker who controlled more money than the whole of the Northwest combined
will go back to be a governor
of a state that does not even make up to 1 billion in its IGR? So there's something beyond corruption. It's a human thing that people love power, and it's quite natural. But how do we utilize power to the benefit of the common man? That should be the question. And so we've seen, Ali Modu Sharif's case, you've made it a big issue. But I think if the PDP is strong enough,
I made it a big issue.
You have amplified the issue. Let me put it that way.
I don't think so. I'm only just saying what God's. I've not even gone anywhere near what people who are angry are saying.
The question is this: that the party follow their due process.
That's fundamental.
Good. If the party followed their due process and they came up with Ali Modu Sharif,
good.
We can question, okay, the moral competence of that.
But not the legality of the process.
But we cannot question the legality of the process.
Because on the other side of it, gentleman talked about us comparing with America. Donald Trump has done everything but moral. And his numbers are rising every day. So in truth, it's not about morality.
It is not. Because you see, there are people within the society that agree with Donald Trump. And I keep saying it. In a society of armed robbers.
So it's all about process. If the process is right, no matter how the person got there, it's not important.
Now that is the question. That brings to question the very fundamentals of democracy.
Because they keep using the word appointment.
Democracy.
Should you appoint the chairman of a political party?
Democracy. Should the majority always have their way? Knowing that the majority in many situations could be wrong. Look at Sodom and Gomorrah. If there had not an election in Sodom and Gomorrah, who would have been the president of Sodom and Gomorrah? It would have been an evil man. So in a society of evil people, an evil man will be popular. And that's why you see some people, they run for office and they say, no, that one, they share money. That one is very stingy. Maybe the man was just trying to be prudent. But because he does not release, he does not share public funds, he's seen as greedy. So you need to look at this, how society welcomes.
So even the change you desire, the people are not ready for it.
Where would the change start from? The change will start from, people always talk about change starting from the top. I agree. Change should
I believe change should start from some leadership.
Change will start from the top. But you see, how does change start from the top? It will start from the top when the top becomes the bottom. So when the leadership is now ready to become the bottom, to become servants.
Servant leaders, you mean?
Servant leaders. Servant leaders.
Are you a band leader, uncle?
No, not in the rhetoric. So it is two-way. I understand President Buhari now understands that fighting corruption does not just start and end in government. I understand the APC, the government is trying to launch a campaign, that corruption starts with, the change starts with me. It has to be changed from our corner, and I keep making that point. It is the change from the corner, change from our individual corners, change from the family, as
change from the nooks and crannies.
Change from the nooks and crannies. Change starts with one person, and then it evolves, and that's why the president has shown that, look, I am ready for change. And the president is showing that. It's just that the budget,
don't even go there. It had nothing to do with the president, and the president has shown leadership by firing people who are involved in that process.
Which is very good.
I think what I agree with you this morning is the fact that our people need to decide what they want.
Exactly.
They need to start thinking about what they want. Do they want change, or do they want mantra? What do they want?
That comes with
because it's a situation where something is wrong, but you do it because of personal benefits. A guy is running for an election, you go demand money from him. After paying him, what moral justification do you have for service? Mr. Ross, it's been nice having you this morning. Last word, 5 seconds.
Last word is that change cannot come from Abuja. Change in government can come from Abuja, but change in the society can only be activated from Abuja. It will have to start from individuals, and when individuals change and society change, society will begin to give birth to good leaders. It is the society that gives birth to leadership.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ross. And for you out there, you heard Mr. Ross, change and society. It's been nice having you this morning, Mr. Ross. And for you out there, I wish you a wonderful weekend. Good afternoon. My name is Kingsley Wanendawali. Bye-bye.